آزادی از موهایم آغاز می شود، آزادی از موهایم آغاز می شود. They said it's for heaven, they said it's for love. Pulled the fabric tighter, called that grace from above. My scalp learned their scripture, every strand in a cage. You learn to walk smaller.
Much. Assalamu alaikum. Look, I don't want to sugarcoat things. For many British Muslims, these are deeply worrying times. That's why the launch of the British Muslim Trust is such an important moment. The BMT is already, as you've heard, supporting victims of anti-Muslim hatred, ensuring that no one in our communities need to suffer in silence, confronting the indifference which has stymied the struggle against Islamophobia for far too long. By rigorously monitoring hatred, the BMT are providing decision makers like Mieta, Nurse and Sarah and the police with the raw data they need to take action. And we've got to back them. We've got to back them by reporting every hate crime we witness, because we can't allow our communities to be defined only by the prejudice they face. Instead, we must also tell a positive a story of progress, a story of integration, and a story of hope. This is the story that the British Muslim Trust will tell, of people who are both proud of the God they worship and proud of the place where they've built their lives. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
He's scared. Should be. Should be. Very afraid. Did you hear some of the words? Let's have a look again. And we'll go through what he was saying. You should be afraid of the term anti-Muslim hatred. You should be worried about that. Because what that means is when those men are marching and you're afraid, you can't tell anyone you're afraid because you'll be anti-Muslim. You'll be guilty of anti-Muslim hatred. And what is anti-Muslim hatred? Well, it could be that you don't agree that it's okay to have sex with your cousin and produce children with deformities. It might be that you don't want to hear the call to prayer. That might be the anti-Muslim hatred that he's talking about. It might be that you don't want to see groups of masked Muslim men on the street. Might be that. Could be that. Let's have a look. One moment. I'm just going to do this so you can hear it again. It's totally insane. You should really be afraid. You should really, really be afraid of this. If you're not afraid, you have no idea. You have no idea what's going on. Seriously. So let's have a listen again. Let's have a look at who's in the room. Also, let's have a look. So I want to do it like this so we see more of him. There we go. There, that's better, isn't it? Here we go.
Look, I don't want to sugarcoat things. For many British Muslims, these are...
I just want to say, and this is going to make me sound like a terrible person, but anyone that says Muslim, when they're talking about Muslims, is someone that you should be worried about. Anyone that says Muhammad is someone you should be worried about. There is something deeply sinister about all of this. British Muslims Trust. What is that? There's a helpline. What is that for? Who does the helpline go to? Do you have a helpline? It's called the police for most of us. Can you report something? Oh, my house is being broken into. When? Right now. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't come. Sorry. Charlotte Gill will be one to watch over this because she's on Twitter, because I'm sure she'll be uncovering where all the money's come from and how much money.
Deeply worrying times. That's why the launch of the British Muslim Trust.
I just think this is just epic Darvo, right? So what do we know? Well, what we know is that there are a few ways to take over somewhere. One is by brute force. So that would be, say, Muslims in Africa at the moment, or Muslims in parts of India where Muslims are now beginning to attack, or in Bangladesh are beginning to attack Hindus and killing Hindus, right? And in Africa, they're killing Christians. So that's one way, or like different factions of Muslims killing each other, right? That's one way to do it. You can do it like that. Or you can do the victim way, which is what this is, which is essentially how Pakistan was created. Pakistan was created because Muslims started saying that they were being persecuted. They started saying that they didn't have a fair hearing in India. So India chopped a little bit of India off and gave it to them. Or rather, we did. We chopped a bit of India off and gave it to Muslims, right? So this is another way of doing it. This is a way of saying, we are the victims. You can't attack us. We will use your tolerance and your patience against you. And we will gain positions of power, and we will use ourselves as like influential blocks of voting to, like Birmingham, for example, Bradford, where we then squeeze you out, and then we will start, once you're a minority, and you don't even have to be a proper minority, you have to be a minority in power. So that would be once you get, say, 16 to 20% of Muslims in a country. And I realize this is bracing for some of you. It sounds horrible. It is horrible. It needs saying. The language I'm going to use is not going to be particularly placating or pleasant. It will be the language that you will be told will be far right. But once Muslims, for the last couple of thousand nearly years, although not that many, 1,300 years, is conquer. They are a colonizing, conquering force. Read up on history. Read up on Bulgaria, for example, who were enslaved for about 500 years by Muslims.
It's such an important moment.
We also know that what's happening is they are taking over areas. They are using the left, like they did in Lebanon and Iran. They are attacking Jews. We know that there is the countryside thing about dogs is about Muslims. Like the closing of pubs also happens to suit Muslims. Now, I'm not saying that's got anything to do with Islam. I'm just saying it's a happy coincidence. The building of super mosques where there isn't really even a large number of Muslims living is a conquering thing. Muslims praying in the streets is a conquering thing. Now, I'm not going to argue for a moment that there aren't victims of Islam within Islam, because I think we all know that there is. But you cannot look across the globe at the countries that are dominated by Muslims and say that they are good fucking countries. You can't. Women in Iran, gay people in Iran, women, like the domestic violence apparently in Palestine is through the roof. You won't ever hear about that. Violence against women, violence against children, child rape, child marriage. It's just endless. Islam is a death cult. It is a group of people that need to pray 5 times a day just in case they forget the brainwashing. Just like we know, out of the, like, what are the odds that a group of people go along Tower Bridge or one of the bridges in London, Westminster it might have been, take their shirts off and smack themselves in the chest? That people are going to go, that's odd, isn't it? That's a bit mental. Or FGM, which might not have been even created by Muslims, but Muslims are the ones that took it to Indonesia. Muslims are the ones that bring it to the United Kingdom and to the rest of the world. Like, I'm not saying they're the only ones. I'm just saying they are they're the biggest exporters of this. Honor killings, family ritualistic rape and torture of girls in this country. Like, you'd have to be a moron. But the ways that Jews are being treated in the United Kingdom is because the left has a little kind of, I don't know why the left is so dumb, but they are, and they seem to be in bed with the Islamists. You've got the Green Party, the party of the Caliphate, and then you've got, oh, I'm a down to earth plumber, me. Yeah. Oh, I've just been fixing a house, built me own, got some greyhounds, and I'm on the side of this amazing man whose wife's in a burqa. Brilliant for the Greens. There is something deeply sinister about all of this, but this in particular, I think there's something about it. It's a whole heap of Darvo. It's very insincere. And I've always believed that Sadiq Khan and Shabana Mahmood, I think there is something wrong with both of them. I sometimes like how Shabana Mahmood speaks about things, but ultimately, if you say Muslim, your priority is Muslims, which is why you don't talk out about the gang rape of women and girls unless you absolutely have to. When there are like across this country, how many Muslims have you heard speak about the depravity of those gang torture, pedophile gang rapes, and torture of young women? How many of those Muslims have you heard speak about it? How many Muslims speak about this at all? How many? How many Muslims condemned the violence of October the 7th? Like, Muslim first.
The BMT is already, as you've heard, supporting victims of anti-Muslim hatred, ensuring that no one in our communities need to suffer in silence.
You don't fucking suffer in silence. You never shut up. You take over streets.
Confronting the indifference which has stymied the struggle against Islamophobia for far too long.
Islamophobia exists because Muslims exist. Because the Muslim way of life is incompatible. So that's why people are against Islam. And by extension, the people who practice Islam. Like, it's everything in this country is you can do bad things, but people can't talk about you doing bad things. Like, if there was a paedophile living down the road who got caught with 1,000 images of child rape, right? And he lived just down the road. Do you think I'd be allowed to stand outside with a placard telling everybody about his crimes? No, I'd probably be arrested for harassment.
By rigorously monitoring hatred, the BMT are providing decision makers like Mieta, Nurse and Sarah and the police with the raw data they need to take action.
You should be petrified. You should be petrified. This is the structure that they are building that means when the Islamification of this country gets worse, you have no way of talking about it. Decision makers and the police.
And we've got to back them. We've got to back them by reporting every hate crime we witness, because we can't allow our communities to be defined only by the prejudice they face.
Which is exactly why, people, if you're not yet reporting every single thing that you see all the time, if you are not standing against halal, like someone recently said, halal, if we banned halal, Muslims would leave this country. Well, I think we should ban halal. I think we should ban halal anyway. And I don't believe that all Muslims would leave. I do believe that there are decent people even steeped in this ideology. But don't forget, the most revered man in the Islamic faith is a man that sexually molested an under 9-year-old and raped a 9-year-old. Married her when she was 6, when he was 50, 53. The basis of their religion, fundamentally, what the first thing they have to do is they have to give justification for a man that is pure, that can do no wrong, that was contacted by God because he is the most virtuous, wonderful man on earth, married a 6-year-old, raped a 9-year-old.
Instead, we must also tell a positive story, a story of progress, a story of integration,
Integration.
a story of hope. This is the story that the British Muslim Trust will tell, of people who are both proud of the God they worship and proud of the place where they've built their lives. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
In this bit as well, he also said that Muslims made London and made Britain. Just madness. Total madness. So is Britain a better country because Muslims live in it? Well, I don't know. Maybe we should ask the hundreds or thousands of girls that were raped for the last 70 years. Not saying that they were that the only rape in this country is by Muslims. That would be a stupid thing to say and frankly untrue. But there'd be quite a few girls better off. There's so much wrong with our country right now, I don't even know where to start. But this is one aspect that I think should make you feel really, really afraid. Really, really afraid. That there are Muslim staff networks in the police and the NHS that mean that when that Islam-loving man, you know, the Welsh choir boy, the Muslim that went and slaughtered those little girls for going to a Taylor Swift dance club, when he killed those people and other people came out, Muslims came out with weapons and were told to put their weapons in the mosque. People who shoved a policeman back or even just stepped in the way, they got prison sentences. The white people, Lucy Connolly, she got prison sentences. Men going out with weapons got told by the police just to put them away. One of the things I think we've got to start doing, and I say this as an atheist, you've got to start going to church, because apathy and absence of belief is not going to save you from this. It's not. And I don't mean that you have to go and pretend to believe in God or believe in God. I just mean you have to find some of our traditions and our culture, which we keep being told we don't have one. If your school is not doing anything about Easter, you have to kick up a fuss. If your school doesn't do a nativity, you have to kick up a fuss. If your school doesn't sing hymns, right, collect together and sing hymns, you have to kick up a fuss. If your school does stuff about Eid, that's more than a nod to some people celebrate this is a blah, blah, blah. If your school has Diwali celebrations, any of these other things, you have to kick up a fuss. Because your apathy is why all of this has been allowed to happen. And you need to be able to look the children of this nation in the face and say that when push came to shove, you did something. Iran was free until it was not. Lebanon was free until it was not. Freedom is not for the apathetic. It takes action and work consistently. So, you can't have your freedom. It won't last. You have to be intentional about freedom. You really do. You have to be really intentional about freedom. The things that you think don't matter, the little things like, oh, they don't do an Easter bonnet parade at my school. Yeah, we don't do that. We don't talk about Easter. We don't do any of those celebrations. Eventually, you'll have a whole generation of children that haven't heard of celebrating Easter. And I don't mean the imported bunny rabbit stuff, because we never used to do Easter bunny. Like, I never did Easter bunny, but we did do Easter. So I just think if you don't keep your own culture, you are bound to be ruled by someone else's. Rebecca says that she's going to celebrate she celebrates the ancient pagan ancestors, Ostera, that Easter is based on. Well, brilliant. As long as it's something. I think that I did theology as a degree, right? So I think the story of Christ it's a very good story. The parables are great. It is a story of love and forgiveness. Just the New Testament. Although I actually think if I was, I really do think if I was religious, I'd be like Old Testament. I want scorched earth, wrath, floods, punishment. That might be my jam. But anyway, I'm really deeply alarmed by that whole speech. These men are in positions of power for one reason and one reason only, and they will hide it. They will hide it. They will pretend that they're liberal. The whole trans thing, when it comes to Sadiq Khan and Hamza Useless, I believe the whole LGBT shit that they did was in part to really push forward hate speech because they want to bring back blasphemy. So anyway, as I hope my timeline shows on Twitter, solidarity as always with the people of Iran uprising against Islamism, against the Islamic regime. It's devastating what's happening, and even more so that we are distracted in talking about it, that our mainstream news seems to take ages before they talk about it. But let me just say this. The culture we are creating yesterday had a 13-year-old boy shouting Allah Akbar and stabbing children and tear gassing them or pepper spraying them in a school. And had a man in Canada pretending to be a woman gunning down 10 people in a school. It's more important than ever that you speak the truth. And if you can speak the truth, even though you're going to get called more names than even when you were just transphobes, then I promise we will win. If you can see the direction in which we are heading clearly, then I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Well, because I never lose.
آزادی از موهایم آغاز می شود آزادی از موهایم آغاز می شود They said it's for heaven They said it's for love Pulled the fabric tighter that grace from above. My scalp learned their scripture, every strand in a cage. You learn to walk smaller, just to live through the day. If you use your faith to make women suffer hell, maybe you invented God to force us under your spell. This is my crown, not your chain, not your rumor, not your shame. You built a prison, called it prayer, but I was born for freedom in my head. For freedom in my head. Yeah. Your rules in a whisper, your hands in a fist, dress codes like barbed wire on a printed list. You talk about modest like it's carved in stone. Funny how your scripture leaves your modesty alone. If you use your faith to make women suffer hell, maybe you invented God to force us under your spell. This is my crown, not your chain, not your rumor, not your shame. You built a prison, called it prayer, but I was born for freedom in my hair. For freedom in my hair. اگر با نام ایمان دوزخ را به زنان تحمیل میکنی، شاید خدا را خودت ساختایی تا ما را مطیع قدرتت کنی. آزادی از موهایم آغاز می شد، آزادی از موهایم آغاز می شد. If you use your faith to make women suffer hell, maybe you invented God to force us under your spell. This is my crown, not your chain, not your rumor, not your shame. You built a prison, I cut the air, watch me walk in freedom with my head. In freedom with my head. I'm not your shame, I'm not your fear, I'm only mine from head to heel. Now see the freedom